I am so excited to start this new podcast episode of the Build Shifa podcast with Ivan Correa, Lenny Hernandez, and Anthony Lawson. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to hear all about how you got started, what you guys are doing right now, and a little bit more about who you are and how you got into what you're doing. So I'm going to start with Anthony, and we're going to kick it off with an icebreaker question. Anthony, if you weren't in your current profession, what alternative career path what alternate career path do you think you would have pursued?
Oh, that's a very good icebreaker question. Alternative career path. Ooh, I would probably do something in the veteran space. I served in the military, so it's one of my very strong give backs. I would probably do something in that space, maybe even do something where I can enhance systems or better performance when it comes to veteran affairs and the actual veterans that served. So I would probably do something in along that lines.
Amazing. That's so cool. And it's really cool to hear about that aspect that you served. I'm sure that impacts a lot of what you do today.
Oh yes indeed.
Amazing. Okay, so Lenny, tell us a little bit about what career path you would have chosen.
I would definitely be in some type of technology, creating softwares, doing things like that. That's I kind of went to school for that, and just got out of that because I thought it was, I went to school for computer programming and computer robotics, and it was a little bit boring, right, at that time. But I've been using technology and developing certain things for the business ever since in the real estate space that I do. So I know it would definitely be technology.
Wow, that is so cool. Oh my gosh. Now I'm curious to hear Ivan because this is like a really great mix of backgrounds and experiences. So I'm sure it really um, provides a lot to the partnership.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Ivan. Tell
I
us.
am way off from everybody else. I've actually given that thought prior, and if like money and all those things were out of the picture, and it was just pure passion and career, I would be a chef, 100%.
Amazing. That's
It's
so
the
cool.
only it's the only art you can eat. So I think that's what I would go for.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Do you feel that impacts at all, like any of you guys? Do you feel your backgrounds impact what you do now?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say so. That's actually what got me started. Um, in the assisted living group home space is really I've seen a need from taking veterans or veterans that needed housing, affordable housing and needed resources, additional resources through organizations, and a place that they can actually call home. New Jersey is my home state, so it can get very expensive. So when I started, that was my mission focus from just hearing someone at a stoplight that everyone quote unquote calls panhandling. But I actually just started talking to him, and then he served a tour in Iraq and a tour in Afghanistan, and that actually helped me catapult to my journey as it is today. So just doing that, creating some VA home opportunities. So that's what really started me.
Wow, what a fantastic passion. I mean, that's really purpose driven, right? If we can do anything in this life to be purpose driven and do it with a mission, I mean, there's nothing better than that. When did you, Anthony, decide that you wanted to start investing and on this path? You said that was there a specific moment? You said that this is your passion, but was there a specific moment or point in your journey that inspired you?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It always reverts back to the beginning. I think in the end you start to think about the beginning. But the beginning for me when I was actually exiting out of the military, I was doing some law enforcement things. I was getting out of that as well, and I actually acquired my first property. I didn't want to do the traditional route with multifamily, so I was just actually pondering upon it. And then when I was at this light, reverted back to the last question, and I started talking to the gentleman. I just had like a aha moment. And I was like, if I can create some type of impact, social impact in the community, if I can help a lot more people and also create cash flow and build legacy wealth for my family as well too, it'd be a good win-win scenario. So for me, that's what I started to do. And then that first giant single family that I had, it was 6 bedrooms, 2 baths. And then from there, I just started sharing out the space. And then I took the basement because I acquired it on a first time home buyer program. So I took the basement and shared out the space to some veterans. And it was just like, wow, sometimes you got to be uncomfortable in order to get comfortable later on. So, the next one, I just started seeing a need to have all these different people in the community that needed help as far as, people that was recovering from some type of substance abuse. And then I just started getting very creative and pitching landlords on what I was doing, what my mission was, and how I can help them achieve higher cash flow. So I started doing some leases, some lease options, some seller finance deals. And then at one point, I had around 13 halfway houses, just contracted drug court, parole offices, um, and I had one contract with the state DOC department, and I just kept it going. So I just kind of self taught everything. I didn't really have anyone to like hold my hand to success, kind of thing. But that's what got me started.
Wow. I would love to hear a little bit more about maybe some of the challenges that you've had throughout that. Maybe you could speak a little bit more about that later. But that is very fascinating. What an incredible journey. It's not just that the mission was an idea, but you actually executed on it and went for it. And then you built for yourself, for your family, a legacy, but also impacted so many other people's lives who could have otherwise been floundering. You know, not everybody has the insight, the foresight that you've had creating this. You are obviously a leader and able to bring people together and help them. This is what a fantastic journey that you're on. I can't wait to hear a little bit more about that. And can you tell us, Lenny, how did you get started? What was the turning point in your career?
So I used to work in Manhattan. I worked in Manhattan from '98 to September 11th, actually. And so I, when I was working there, I thought I always wanted to work in New York, right? I wasn't doing software, but I was a technical recruiter, and I was kind of like in my zone with talking to techie people. And I felt like I wanted something else, but I didn't want to leave. Like many people who have full time jobs, because if I left, then where am I going to make money? Then September 11th came around. When September 11th came around, it changed everybody's life, but it changed my life dramatically because I was in the PATH train every day. I walked out of the World Trade Center every single day, and I know that a lot of people that I was taking the PATH train with probably didn't make it, right? So at that point, I was just like, "There's no way I could go back to working for anybody. I have to figure it out." So my dad was a realtor, and I didn't know what real estate was kind of like. I didn't really. I knew that I had bought one property, it was a multifamily, and it wasn't a great experience, but I was dealing with it. But I knew that I wanted to stay in that space. I just didn't necessarily want to do it the way that I had done it before, getting a regular mortgage and all that stuff. So I figured out that if I looked for expired listings and I can see why the properties weren't selling, and I could utilize it was just a method. It was just like a handshake agreement with the person saying, hey, if I can sell your property for 350, which is the number you want, if I could sell it over that, can I keep the difference? And most of them just said yeah. So what without getting a mortgage or anything like that, I started going around and building this pipeline of people within an area, which was Plainfield, New Jersey, within a particular area, and I would work out deals with them. My only security was that my father would list the property, and I would take the little bit of money that I had saved up, and I would renovate their properties or just clean it up, and that started working out really well. And that went from that to not being able to do enough of those properties, right? And then discovered this whole thing of being able to not just renovate the properties and sell them, but to be able to take those contracts and sell them to other investors, right? Which was, I guess what you would consider now wholesaling real estate. And that's how that journey began.
Wow, that's amazing. Talk about necessity being the mother of all invention. I mean, you've really taken your technical background and systemized what you do and found a way to bring value to these people, but also to monetize it for yourself.
It was a
That's
way to scale,
fascinating.
a way to scale without having to go through the whole mortgage process and stuff. And it
Right.
worked. It worked.
Absolutely. Wow, that's fascinating. I would love to jump into Ivan's background and how he got started, but I know, Anthony, that you need to jump off. So, can you just tell us a little bit about perhaps some of the struggles that you had within your journey and how you overcame them?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think knowledge is really power once you read it and you apply it. So for me, I got very familiar with government laws. One of them is the ADA Compliance Act, the American Disability Act. And the other one, which is probably number one, I should have said that first, which is the Fair Housing Act. The Fair Housing Act has a lot of good information to actually protect group homeowners that know, the rules and guidelines for a particular population that they're actually helping in housing. So for me, when I first started off, I didn't know this. So everyone says, and I'm sure everyone here can probably agree to attest to that. On TV, people complain about the homelessness, but when there is a home in the community that people are trying to do something for, they still complain. So it's never a win scenario for some people. They just complain about it, and then when a home pops up that they help with some type of mental illness residents, that people still complain that they live next door to a mental illness facility or something like that. So I overcame that. It was a lot of pushback with some neighbors at first, and I was dealing with some code enforcement. This is in the city of Newark at the time. Some code enforcement inspectors that kind of came in and told me I couldn't do this, couldn't do that. But the Fair Housing Act, you can't just put a certain population out on the street because that's illegal. That's actually discrimination, and I can go on and on about that. But that led me to start reading up some different guidelines about this, and that's when I stumbled upon it. And it's a whole pamphlet. It's like 200-300 some pages. I don't remember everything verbatim, but I definitely read the whole pamphlet years ago, and highlighted some key information. And I actually went down to the inspector's office and told him what is I allowed to do and what I'm not allowed to do. And sure enough, everything I was doing was in compliance. So federal laws supersede state and county laws. So I always tell people that, and you have all these government um, officials that may not know because they haven't read it. So they're just doing their job, which I understand. But that's up to us as the owners of these kind of homes and facilities to actually enforce that to protect ourselves. So that's how I overcame those challenges.
So, Anthony, what does the future look like for you right now in terms of continuing to pursue that and helping veterans and in the assisted living space?
Yeah, that's a good question. The so I diverse my population from not only just veterans, but doing a lot of sober living, developmental disability, intellectual disability, and then of course the senior population, which is the assisted living side of things. And what things is like for me with that is just continue to scale. Right now I'm in 3 states, entering four very soon, and entering overseas into the UK for this particular asset type for nursing homes. And just going to continue to scale. I'm actually enrolling out fund number two to do this kind of venture. And fund number one that I have is catered a lot towards this. So what I typically like to do is raise capital, deploy it in these group homes, developmental disabilities, put them on government contracts, continue to add services for the residents so that I know that the residents are absolutely love where they stay. They love what we do. and have it to a place that they call home. So, and then in return, we create a lot more cash flow for myself and for investors as well too. So it makes it a good win-win situation. And that's what I'm continuing to do. So I'm just going to scale up. My ultimate goal is to have. At first it was 1,000, but I'm going to get it a little bit higher than that to 3,000 beds. That'll probably take another few, a couple more years. I'll say about 3 to 5 years to kind of get to that mark, and then exit to a either a firm or someone that cares for the residents just as much as we do, and see where it takes us. And then I'm going to scale through not only through that venture, but through strategic joint venture partnerships with people that have similar vision as well too.
Wow, amazing. And I guess that's what you guys are doing together, right, as a
Yes.
partnership.
Yep.
That's fantastic. I mean, in the design space, there is an ROI in terms of money, like monetarily, that a beautiful space makes more money, but also in how it impacts the people that are there. And I'm sure that's the same sentiment of what you guys are hoping to achieve in terms of just creating well-being for everybody all around. So I think that's, it's mission driven through and through. It's not just about making money. I was talking before our pre-podcast call with Ivan, and we were talking about how in the financial world, um, there's this like bro culture, and people are just focused on money, 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 and it's hard pressed to find people, especially investors, that are mission driven like yourselves. And I'm super excited to have you guys on because of that, because I love to support and highlight those who not just making a living for their family and building a legacy for their family, as you've mentioned, but also impacting the lives of so many other people at scale.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. That's always been my goal from day one.
Amazing. And we can tell. And so can our audience. Thank you so much for joining us, Anthony.
No problem. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Anthony.
So, Ivan, I would love to hear when you decided to jump into all of this. And was there a specific moment that was a turning point for you?
Yeah, I was when I moved to this country, my idea was to basically figure out a way to become something in the finance space. So as I got older and older, I was going to go all the way to get in a financial PhD and be able to create financial models and all those things. And I wanted to become an investment banker and actually be able to do big merger and acquisition deals and be in that space. So obviously, it's not as easy as anything that you plan is not as easy as you say it. And what happened is I had to end up going to night school, which is really difficult when you have a full time job. There was a guy who actually gave me a shot at getting on track to be an iBanker without a degree. So I had to basically work all day or basically figure out how to do a 12-hour day in 4 hours and then drive myself to school, do school. And after a while, I mean, I was doing really well. I was basically there to get it. And my health at, in my early to mid 20s was terrible. I was pre-diabetic. I had ulcers, everything that you can think of that a 20-year-old shouldn't have, I had. And in that meantime, I actually bought my first house, and I was like, I think I'm gonna probably figure out a way to quit. And that's how I found myself going into real estate, because in finance you really don't create anything tangible. While I remember the first house that I bought a two family to make sure that my family can live upstairs. In the first floor, I would have a tenant, and in the basement, I would just live. That was our biggest expense as a family, so I wanted to remove that. And when I was renovating it, that's what kind of gave me that feeling of, so you turn something that was an eyesore into something that actually makes sense. And eventually, when I left, I kind of went into the real estate space, and then bumped my head several times to find myself where I am today. But that's kind of how I got into it.
Wow. I mean, it's probably you took something that was that you could build with your own hands, right? And probably seeing the end vision and seeing how it all
Yeah.
came together was huge for you.
Yeah, that it makes a big difference, because every single day, I mean, I since I started in the financial space, I was always top in sales, top in production. Like I wasn't bad at it, but you don't see anything again that you could see with your eyes physical. So that's why there's a lot of people in the financial space that aren't fulfilled. While in real estate, no matter what you do, you always see the project go from A to Z, and that makes a big difference, not just for money, but fulfillment as well as a human being.
Right, right. And also, it's so amazing that you stopped and realized that it was taking a massive toll on your health, because a lot of people would not and keep on going, and
Yeah,
then it would just continue.
yeah, yeah. And I think we spoke about it prior that the because I am an immigrant, I don't sign up and I don't subscribe to the bro culture. And in finance, that is a thing. Like you have to wear the vest, you have to have certain things, and at the beginning, you do it because you have to fit in. But then after a while, because of my character and who I am, I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to participate in this. And that's also one of those things that kind of was like, this doesn't suit me. It does, and obviously I got older while this happened, so obviously things in your character and how you behave pivot. So that also kind of helped me put myself on this path.
Right. It built your character. And I think
Yeah,
that
for sure.
these things in life, like with what Lenny mentioned, that, he went through, he was in the path trains, and then these people that he was with every day suddenly were gone.
Yeah,
These things in life, they build your character, and
absolutely.
create, build you to the person you are, the business person that you are, and really impact the decisions and the business that you have going forward. And
Correct.
so, yeah, and Lenny, what do you feel that you're most passionate about in your work? What drives you?
So for me, it's always been about creating something, right? So I have the tendency to in this space, in this real estate space that I'm in, it's always I don't like to go with a particular traditional like buying and selling properties. I always like to find a niche, right? When I first started, I found the niche of finding expired listings. Then I discovered tax sale foreclosure, sheriff sales, and stuff. And for me, it's always been about what can I see that other people aren't seeing at the time, and how can I build on that and build something out of it, right? And it's really been that, just seeing what the trends are, and seeing where is everybody not really looking, right? And that's kind of like what motivates me, and so it doesn't become boring, I guess you could say, right? Just switching it up and finding a new way of being able to do the same thing that nobody's looking at.
And what are people not looking at now? Like, what is a thing that you found to help bring you that success?
So when dealing in I guess any kind of real estate, people when the trends are going up, right? It's really easy to make money. It's kind of hard to lose, right? You buy something, fix it up and sell it, right? And if the market's going, if the inventory is not there, prices are going up. Um, what people aren't seeing is, all right, and this is only because I've experienced it. When you're going on an upcycle, right? At some point, it's going to stop, right?
Mhm.
And it's gonna go down. It happened to me already, where I thought that money was going to continue its flow, and things were always going to work out, and I ended up losing everything, right? Actually beyond everything, because I owed money at that point. So now when I'm looking at things, I'm not just looking at what's happening right now. I'm more cautious about what can happen later, and I'm looking at the trends right now. For example, if I see that prices and interest rates are steadily going up, right? You know, right now, if interest rates go down like everybody wants, it's not necessarily a good thing, because it to the surface, it would be like, yeah, it's great. Now people can buy houses and at a lower interest rate. But what will happen is that if that happens, the prices would just keep on going higher. It's not going to stop, right? So what's that going to do? It's going to create a bubble, just like it did in the past, right? And where the properties really are just artificially inflated and not really worth what they're worth. Then what happens? Then it comes crashing down. So I'm trying to look at either areas that aren't necessarily going through that, maybe looking in more, areas that aren't so popular, right? But also cautious about what can happen later, right? Just
Got
because I've already experienced it.
got it. Would you be comfortable telling us a little bit about that experience of where you lost everything and how you came back?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So when I discovered, it's not like I discovered something I wasn't there. I discovered for myself tax sale foreclosures and sheriff sales. When I found that niche, it was very easy for me to pick up inventory because again, I was looking at things that other people weren't looking at. Right? They were looking for cookie cutter properties. I was looking for all the properties nobody wanted. So I was getting them all, right? I was getting really really good deals on stuff. But I was also looking at, wait, the trend right now is building new construction. So I began to purchase properties and knock down houses that were there, and I just kept on doing that. I buy them outright because I thought I wanted to be a builder. What happened was when the market switched, I had all these properties that I had basically torn down. They weren't worth anything, the land value, and the method of making money, which was the auctions, dried up because they had a moratorium on that, right? Meaning a moratorium, meaning there was no more auction. Too many houses were being foreclosed, so that left me in a situation that I was living way beyond my means, no money coming in, and properties that really weren't worth anything other than dirt. And I had spent all this money on plans, getting them approved and stuff like that. What happens with that happens, you start getting desperate, right? And you start trusting people that you shouldn't trust. So then I took basically all the money I had and I dumped it in another venture which I had no, knowledge of, and I lost that too. So now no money, lost all my money, and in a downward spiral that just didn't stop. Where ultimately I ended up losing, the house I built, all the properties that I had, everything, literally everything. And at that point, when you hit rock bottom, you kind of like think, well, how am I ever going to get out of this situation again, right? And you have to build back up, but this time with nothing, right? So, you know, I always keep that. I don't keep that as I learn. I keep that as a learning experience, and I learned a lot from it, and I'm glad that I learned it when I did, because had it not happened, and I would have been, now, I would not know these trends that I'm telling you to look for. I'm not looking at what I'm not just going with the flow and seeing, oh, this is I could keep on buying. You have to kind of be smart about what you're doing and what you're invested in right now and diversify, which I didn't diversify before. And that's what I'm doing now.
How did you get up from being knocked down so low?
So yeah, that's a great question. So like I said, not only did I not have any money, I owed a lot of money, right? And I was just trying to figure out a way, how do I get back? So what ended up happening was, a little bit of luck actually helps a lot. But I found a property that was, the auctions had started back up again, right? And I found a property that was going to auction that was way out of my means. I didn't have, it was, the property was I think it was $514,000, right? It didn't seem like anything possible. But I happened to be with my father that day, and I decided to ask him, hey, there's a property that's going. I know it's worth a lot more than it is. If I sell it, or if I buy it, then I'll probably be able to make $40,000 off this transaction. I was transparent with my dad, and my father and I have never done any kind of real estate together or anything like that, no auctions or anything like that. But it just so happened that he was just like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. So my dad was in these auctions you have to have 20%, right? So what ended up happening was I went to the auction with my father, and I seen that all, the players, the guys who really did have money, were there too, or at least the guys that do the same thing that I do. The problem was that it was in an area that nobody was familiar with, and their people that were telling them about the property driving by didn't come back to the auction in time. So when it started bidding, I ended up getting the property for the what they call the upset amount, which is what it owes, right? And that property was worth a lot more than what I had gotten it for, and what I thought I was going to be able to turn around and sell and make 40,000, which was basically just to live on, 20 for my father and 20 for me. I was able to turn around and sell it within 30 days for 580,000. So, so two things happened. A, my parents were in the midst of getting a property in Florida. I bought their property in Florida with that, and then the other half of the money was my get back on my feet money, and that started my I got back on my feet with that one particular transaction.
Wow. You didn't give up. I mean, so many
No.
people in your situation would have and
Oh,
would have been defeated and not started again in real estate.
absolutely. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
And that's the grit that you really need. I mean, Ivan and I were talking about that in our pre-podcast call, and he also had a similar story where he hit rock bottom. Ivan, if you would be comfortable sharing with us, that was just an incredible story as well. Would love to hear how you. I think that there are a lot of people out there, especially in the real estate industry, any industry, but anybody who's taking risks many times has hit rock bottom, but it's the real grit and the thing that builds character that allows them to start over again and continue and not stay at rock bottom. So, can you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that, Ivan?
Um, yeah, sure. The you know just before we get into it, I've noticed and I've actually thought about that. At no point in time, no matter how low I've been, have I said no. I'm going to stop today. I'm going to quit. So I don't know if that might have to be just also built into the person, and that's why a lot of people that are entrepreneurs, when you talk to them, they're like, yeah, I never, that was never like even in the cards. Like for me, it's never been in the cards. Like no matter how hard I have to work, how stressed, it's never been like, I think I'm good. I'm going to go do something else. Um, but for me, for example, as I mentioned, when I left finance, I was still relatively young, and I didn't do, I guess, my research, and I thought I was a little too intelligent. I let my ego get in the way, and I had to kind of learn this business by bumping my head, as I said. At the beginning, I found some people that I thought were actually going to do business with me. I'll help them. Just add value to the relationship, and they ended up stiffing me for about, I think, like $20,000. Their attorney ended up getting, prison. So it's just in this game, you learn pretty quickly. There's a lot of people that do this business that they don't even play in the gray. They just do illegal things. I got lucky enough that I didn't get involved with those folks, and I'd rather just lose on the money. But, I went from being, a person that was wearing a three-piece suit that thought he was the man to drive an Uber. And the reason I drove Uber is it's either you sink or you swim, and that's again, my mentality has always been that. So it's funny because the way that my brain works, I guess I always have to figure out a way or a system. And I started driving Uber just like, I guess, like a person does, just to get a little bit of money here and there. But I was like, this is not efficient. This doesn't make any sense. And the more I drove it, the more I figured out like the way to actually make money on it, and I exploited that as much as possible. And I, luckily for me, I had already bought a property, which is the one that I initially bought, and I was living in my basement, just literally thinking of a master plan of how to get away from all this negativity. And I just took that Uber drive and just kept saving money up, and then with that money, I started buying little projects here and there, and it kind of drove me from the depths of hell, really, because I mean, obviously, when you're that low, your mentality is not the same. But I that was really it for me. Like, you see who you were, and you see who you want to become, and for you to do the transition, that person or that character you thought you were has to die. So I've always said it like you die in effigy. Like it's just like you got to get rid of that person who you thought you were, and that was the hardest part for me is, well, I shouldn't be doing this, or I don't belong here. But it's like, no, you do belong here. You have to pivot. This is how this works. And if it wasn't for that those hardships, I don't think I would appreciate or have as much humbleness as I have now, because that really humbled me. That kind of destroyed my ego heavily. But now when I'm doing deals, like for example, with letting we have calls or we have opportunities and we look at deals and some of the numbers, I'm just like, I'm in my dream. I'm in basically what I wanted to do years ago. I'm living it now. So it took some while to turn it around, but always going to events, always reading, always educating yourself and taking action on that education is what got me here and got me out of those dark times.
Wow. It sounds like you guys are all growth minded, would you say?
Hmm.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yep. Yep. One
I
hundred
think
percent.
that that's what really connects you guys in terms of your mindset. I mean, not only are you all passion driven, but you're all growth minded and have gone through a lot and have not allowed it to stop you for being successful. Can you tell me a little bit about how you guys met? How did this become a thing? How did you guys get started, and what does the future look like in terms of your partnership and what you guys are working on?
Ivan, you take that.
Okay. So I actually met Lenny through doing a deal with Anthony, who was earlier with us, and we met while doing due diligence, and we just everything he was doing, I was doing, and as we talked during the day, we kind of like hit it off, and since I'm not on social media, I'm not really out there. Nobody really knows what I do, but the more we talk, the more we hit it off. And then I had his number, and I think maybe like 3 or 4 months afterwards, I hit him up for like a lunch or dinner, and I told him what I wanted to do, and I told him I was like, look, man, I right now I just got out of really bad partnerships. I want to go into something new, and I want it to be big. I'll work for you for free, and let's try to figure this out. And he kind of looked at me like, he's there's a lot going on in his mind. He's like a machine, and like he's sitting there quietly, but he has 22,000 thoughts. But he definitely noticed that there's value there, and I think since like last August, we've been working on building things up to where we are right now. We're definitely focusing on looking at more assisted living facilities. We're looking at also buying businesses. So there's also the opportunity once we go from phase one to phase two to phase three of this plan is to get into the bigger side of things where you're not buying one single family or one two family. You're looking for the 40, 50, 100 units, which gives you, economies of scale, and it gives you higher returns, but it's easier for you to raise money if you do actually find those deals. And it's so crazy because when I get in any conversation, I'll talk to Lenny maybe 2 3 times a day, and if we speak 20 30 minutes, it's like getting a workout. Like when you get hyped, we like feed off each other. Like he'll tell me an idea, I'll tell him an idea, and at the end I'm just like, man, I gotta go do something. I'm energized right now. So that's kind of how this whole thing came about.
Wow, amazing. I mean, that's fantastic energy. That's fantastic synergy.
Mhm.
Lenny, from your perspective, what was going through your mind? What were those 20,000 thoughts?
So when I first met Ivan, obviously I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at, right? So I am I'd like to say it's ADD that works for me, right? Because I do have a lot of things going on in my mind and everything when we're talking. But I saw that Ivan is structured, right, and still business minded and stuff. And as I was talking to him, I said, well, Ivan basically is good at what I'm not good at, right? Very good at what I'm not good at, right? And it was one of the things that caught my attention is when we were doing due diligence on this particular property that we're both involved in. He took it upon himself to fly to another state, get into the property, which it wasn't easy to do, and he did something that basically I think I would have did myself, right? Just thinking outside, get into the building by any means necessary. He's very creative, and I like that, right? I was, he was thinking very quickly, right? And I think in this business, you have to be able to be adaptable in whatever it is the situation you're in, but also think outside the box. And I was like, okay, yeah, no, this is good. He's also a lot younger than me, and I think a lot smarter than me, a lot younger than me, and definitely a lot smarter than me at his age, right?
I
Um,
appreciate
but
that.
but I as you get older, you learn from wisdom, right? So that's I feel like I can bring that to the table of not necessarily what to do, but mostly what not to do, right? I've already had all the hangups I feel, and I think it's a good combination.
Would you say that you lean on the strengths of other people, like knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at, and then leaning on the strengths of others?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I've been very good at like I kind of feel like a rainmaker sometimes, right? That I can get opportunities and create opportunities, but there's a big difference from just creating the opportunity and and seeing it through is a whole other thing, right? Which I have no problem. Wait, no, I do have a problem. And all the stuff I see the beginning, I see the end, and it's the middle that always really has been a challenge for me, right? But anything that I've done has always been the same way, right? Just creating the opportunity and being able to find a way to either collaborate or or do business with smart people that can do what I can't do, right?
Hmm. What are some of the challenges that you guys are facing now, or that you see could come in the way, and how are you going to navigate that?
So challenges. I would say the challenges right now are, I think the market is, anywhere you go is overly saturated. I think that the government at some point interfered with what the natural market would have done, which it would have collapsed, or it would have gone down to people actually struggling in a major way. And I think because it is inflated, it kind of keeps the real estate space and the business space very saturated. They didn't allow to, I guess, to have an '08 square, like a bigger recession. And I guess it's healthy for the normal person, but when you're in the business and you start looking at some of the numbers, you're like, a lot of these things don't make any sense. A lot of the people that are buying these deals or how they're raising money, it doesn't make any sense. And I think that's one of those challenges, to make sure that you separate your company and the opportunities that you do from these folks that are just literally riding a wave, and they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the know-all, they don't have the execution, they don't have the team. They just so happen to really get lucky because the market's performing the way it's performing. I think that at some point there will be. I never get into, oh, it'll happen in a year and 2 years, because no one can tell you. Warren Buffett couldn't tell you, right? But the moment that it does happen, there will be some of these saturated markets. There will be opportunities, and basically that those are the challenges we're dealing with now. We're just figuring out ways to think outside of the box, or to find ways where we have an edge that we can continue to do business, be profitable for our investors, be profitable for ourselves, and create win-win scenarios, which is what we really pride ourselves in.
Mm, amazing. And Ivan, sorry, and Lenny, what do you think are some of the challenges? Do you agree with what Ivan said? Can you build off of that?
I do. I feel that a lot of the challenges that I see just in the current stuff that we're doing is that obviously it's harder to get inventory, or when we're talking real estate, it's hard to get real estate or properties to buy when the market is obviously going up, right? And there's a lack of inventory. And I feel that the investors, they're buying because they're just setting the bar to higher numbers and higher numbers. And I feel that you know unless you're doing something creative and not really going the same trend, like I've been saying before, right? Not doing the same path, it becomes challenging in being able to find those situations. Maybe direct to sellers, maybe doing a deal with institutions or whatever to get inventory at a lower cost. That becomes harder, more challenging. We're in New Jersey, so most of our business is here. Densely populated state, a lot of people, a lot of investors, and everybody knows what the values are of the property. Even the people that don't know the values of properties, go on Zillow, and those numbers are necessarily not correct neither, right? So everything is inflated. So the challenge is being able to still get inventory at a decent price, right? Not overpaying for something to still be able to turn a profit, right? That's the challenge right now. Um, but I guess in knowing what we know, like as far as how to find inventory and stuff, that's what separates us from everybody else. It's not the same things. Before it was just buying from auctions. Well, now everybody's going to the auctions, right? Now it's maybe talking to people directly, right? That's
Is that how you're navigating it right now? Going,
Yeah,
finding different ways and going
yes,
directly to the person?
correct. Obviously, following the auctions, there's going to be deals, and anything you're going to find opportunities, but you can't really scale it just doing it one way anymore, right? You have to look for and thinking outside the box as well, as far as not just maybe it's not just finding biz properties. Maybe it's finding businesses or homeowners that are in this distress situation that have businesses, or homeowners that just want to sell their property that have a business, right? So we're finding creative ways to find both, right?
Amazing. So you guys have diversified. You're
Yes.
creative. And what are some successful for other investors out there? What are some successful investment strategies other than that? Is there anything else that you can give our audience in terms of how to be successful in today's market?
As far as Ivan, you want to take that?
Yeah, you're talking about in real estate or just in general?
Either in business, I know you guys also purchase, acquire other businesses. You also do investment purchases, property investment purchases as well. What are some ways that now the market is very, as you said, it's saturated. Everything is overpriced. People are struggling. What can investors today do to navigate the current market and come out successful?
Well, there's a lot of baby boomers retiring right now. There's a lot of businesses out there that, if you look at them, they don't really look um, sexy, like a good business to jump into, because I that's what I look for. Businesses that are kind of like under the radar, that nobody's thinking of. No technology's been added to it whatsoever, and you can turn it into, in today's world, utilizing technology and scaling stuff, and being able to build a better business. There's a lot of those businesses out there. Those businesses are easier to negotiate or to find than a really good deal on a real estate, uh, on a piece of property. So I feel like people should not just look at things in just one way, but if they're looking to diversify, keep on doing the real estate stuff if they're doing it, but also open their eyes to different things. It's fine. And they're retiring every single day. I don't know what the numbers are, but it's a lot. And like I said before, with the New Jersey being so densely populated, so many business owners are moving out of the state, and their kids don't want to take over the business and stuff. So that's another way of diversifying, right?
And building wealth. Yes. Okay, amazing. So, is there one question that you wish I would have asked you guys? And what would it have been? How would you have answered?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That is a good question. Actually. That's a
And
really good
because you're
question.
you're you're good at asking, you asked basically all the right questions. Can you think of anything? You asked about the law, because it's not always, um, everything's not always great, you know, and that's the part that they don't show you on Instagram, you know,
No,
that
no,
it's
it's the
not
real
always,
deal.
yeah, exactly.
Yes. Maybe
Um,
maybe you'd like to highlight something for our audience, something that in terms of what you can offer or how they can connect with you, something about your business or what you're doing that would be beneficial to them. Um,
That's simple
and
enough. We can do that. I guess if you wanted to participate, or if you wanted to find a way to do a deal with us, it's for someone sitting at home or someone that just wants to get started. That through your personal network or through something you've seen that you see that's a deal. Whether it's a single family piece of real estate outside of New Jersey, whether it's Florida, Texas, wherever it is, whether you see an assisted living facility or specialized housing, a piece of property that again that through your personal network or through any connection or event that you go to that you believe is a deal, that you feel it in your gut, that you've been able to run numbers on, but you just don't have the cash, a business that's not sexy but that makes money, again, that you don't know how to close the deal, you can reach out to us. We can help you, basically pick up the pieces, put it together, work out a deal, and we can help with the funding. We can help with, partnering together. And you can reach out to us via email, through social media. Usually for me, it's easier if you reach out to me via email. For Lenny, he has different access to different things. But I think, for example, for me, if I would have been in the position to actually find a deal for somebody and I would have seen something like this, we're literally the people that you should be reaching out to. We're always willing to work and help somebody out. And we always create win-win scenarios. That's our mission. We want to make sure that we're not just winning and you're losing. It should always be win-win. So if you have buildings, businesses, assisted living facilities, we're all in that space. Any opportunities that you have that you can't close, you can't figure out, reach out to us. We'll help you out with that.
any
amazing.
businesses, right?
Literally,
Any
yeah.
business, we can figure out a way um, to make it profitable, or maybe partner up on it.
Amazing. Wow, what an opportunity for our audience. This has been so much fun. Can you give us three key takeaways? Maybe Ivan, you could do 1.5, and Lenny, you could do, or maybe four, two and two. Give us tips regarding everything that we spoke about, key takeaways. Let's wrap it up for our audience.
Can I go first, David? Because it's just at the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
Adaptability to any situation, right, is very is I think is such a big part, and not giving up, right? Because this entrepreneur life, it sounds great, right? It sounds sexy, but it's like a roller coaster. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up. And what happens is, and I see this all the time, when it goes down, people don't really know how to react to that. They think that it's about them, right? And it's not about them. It's literally, they're just part of the journey. And I've seen, obviously, just from being around for so long, right? I feel like um, there's a lot of people that I think would have done really well if they would have just continued on their path, but they stopped when they hit the bottom. And I think I just want to encourage everybody that the story that I said about losing everything, that's only a tidbit, right? It's there's so much more, right? But if it wasn't for that attitude to move forward, would have never been able to experience the other things too that came along with the success, right?
wow, those are some great takeaways because I think that a lot of people experience those lulls and the ups and downs. And, being an entrepreneur myself for way over 10 years now, it's a journey. So I appreciate that adaptability. And the second one was,
to never give up.
Never give up. Okay, amazing. And Ivan, tell us your takeaways.
Um, I would say that, and the reason why I really don't participate in social media is because they sell you. I don't know if I can use this language. They sell you this bullshit of being an entrepreneur and you're going to be rich and it's all linear. None of that's true. Um, so one thing that I learned from going through a lot of events and doing a lot of self education is, and it sounds so like it should be common sense, but it's really not that common because of how we're educated. But failure, it's not a failure. Failure is actually a lesson. And in my opinion, for example, in Lenny's life, let's use him as a case study, I guess. If he didn't have that failure, would he be in the position he is today? I don't know, right? So I've once literally, and I got this from Grant Cardone. I went to an event and he's like, "Oh, failure's a lesson." I was like, I stopped and I was like, "Yeah, actually, it is a lesson." That's why I always think that that's actually it's not common sense as most people think about it, because it is. When you're at one point through any venture you do, you're going to fail. And if you talk or read, you're going to see that a lot of people that are very wealthy or that are very successful, they went through a lot of failure. That's just part of the game. The other thing is there really is no such thing as get rich fast or get rich quick. If it is, then you should probably find out why, because there really isn't such a thing as that. And the last thing would be to always self educate and not just read to read, but to actually take action on it. If you read a bunch of books and you don't do anything with it, you're just going to be a really smart guy that does nothing. So you have to do something with Dallin Hedges, and you actually have to execute on those things. Don't let fear or don't let analysis paralysis get in the way. Figure out a way to get with somebody if you're liking things, and put those deals together. That's really those are the three things that I think are key takeaways for the people listening.
Amazing. I think the common thread here throughout is just becoming, no matter what you're talking about, whether it's real estate or buying businesses or design or whatever it is, it's really about becoming a better version of yourself, becoming a better person, because it's just the means, right? It's just the vehicle. The destination is becoming the best version and enjoying of yourself and enjoying life to its fullest. So it's wonderful that you guys joined us. I'm so excited to have our audience have access to you now, know a little bit about your background. What a great opportunity. And tell us more about where our audience can find you, how they can reach you and connect.
For me, my email is good. Lenny at NJ Offer. Lenny at NJ Offer, or I'm not much on social media, but Lenny Auctions on Instagram.
Amazing. Okay, great. I'll put that in the show notes. And Ivan?
For me, email, the same thing. It's usually the best way to actually reach me. Email is Ivan, IvanGetMeHMeAHaus at gmail.com. Don't ask me why it's so long. I thought it was a great idea at the time. My social media, I actually have to Google it because I don't even remember the name of it, but I think it's real estate Ivan or real estate underscore Ivan C. Honestly, I don't know it, but email is usually the easiest way to get a hold of me. So again, if you have businesses, if you have anything or a deal that needs some hands on, so we can actually get you to close, and reach out to either one of us.
Amazing. We'll put all your information in the show notes. It was fantastic having you. Hopefully, we'll have you again soon. Thanks so much,
Thank
guys.
you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.